my name's Nicola and I'm a brand rep for Caboodle Textiles. Today we're going to be doing a video on how to attach a neckband to a t-shirt. So that's a really useful skill for any beginner because anything that needs a top half finishing, so dresses or t-shirts or jumpers, are all going to need neckbands unless you stick to hoodies for the rest of your life. So today I am going to be putting a neckband on this made by Jack's mum Explorer raglan. This is made of cotton jersey, paint splatter for the sleeves and candy pink cotton jersey for the body. And I'm wanting to put a black neckband on. So to choose the material for your neckband, you could use cotton lycra. So both of these fabrics from Caboodle Textiles have got excellent stretch and return, so I could use them for the neckband. If you do that, you may need to slightly lengthen the dimensions that you've been given in the pattern, usually by ½ centimetre or so, just because cotton jersey is not quite as stretchy as ribbing. As a beginner, I would recommend that you use ribbing. It's a lot more forgiving and you will find it easier to get the finish that you want. This is black ribbing from Caboodle Textiles. Caboodle's got lots of choice of colours, and if you buy 4 items, so 4½ meters of any ribbing or more, you'll start to get multi-buy discount. The more you buy, the cheaper it gets. There's also a discount specifically for first-time buyers who are members of the Made by Jack's Mum sewing group on Facebook. I've cut my neckband to the dimensions it says in the pattern, and then ribbing is pretty easy to tell which is the right side. It's the one with the smaller V's that's smoother, and the pattern will quite clearly tell you to put the neckband lengthways together so you've got the most stretch in this direction, and to sew within the seam allowance these two sides together. And because it's a Made by Jack's Mum pattern, that's 6 millimeters. So I've sewn the neckband in a ring and then opened it out and folded it wrong sides together in half. So you've got a ring that's now half thickness, like this. So this is right side, the wrong sides are hidden and the bit you've just sewn is hidden. You've got a seam and you're going to divide your neckline into 4 equal parts. So I do that with clips, one on the seam, fold it in half, put a clip exactly opposite, so here, bring the clips together so that they're touching each other, and then at each end, so just here, I'm going to put another clip, and again keeping the clips touching, I'm going to put a clip on this end. Okay, and you should be keeping it so that you've got 4 equal parts and the edge, the raw edges are meeting each other all the way around, and you'll probably want to press it so that the edges stay meeting and stay even. Okay. Next you're going to take your neckline, and the thing to remember is that the back and the front are not equal. For a raglan convention, so that's standard thing that most people do, is to put the seam level with one of your back seams. With a normal type t-shirt, such as the Emmy, the Eclipse, the Cup of Tea, dresses, most people, where there's a set-in sleeve, so a separate sleeve piece, would put the seam at the middle of the back. It doesn't really matter what you do. To be honest, you're the only person who's going to notice. So the easiest way as a beginner, and you'll find that you cut these steps out as you get more used to it, is to start with the seam where you're going to put the seam of your neckline, and then you make the necklines and the sleeves meet each other evenly, and that's going to tell you where it's diagonally opposite. And for this t-shirt in this size, it's roughly at the front seam of the other sleeve. But what I would say to you is that it isn't always, and so you need to be really, really careful about how they match up. Then take those two clips that you've already put on, match them together, follow the neckband evenly, and bear in mind, again, it's not going to be central because the neckband at the front is usually lower than the neckband at the back. Although you've got a true circle in your pattern, where the different fabrics and where the different pieces meet is not equal, so this folding technique is a bit more accurate. The reason you're doing it like this is because you want your neckband to stretch evenly throughout all of the fabric. If you don't do it like this, you'll end up stretching one part more than the other, and that's when it'll start looking wonky, or you'll run out of neckband, or it won't lay flat. So you want 4 even parts. You can do this with pins if you don't have clips. It's just I personally find clips easier whilst I'm sewing. So I've now got my neckline with the 4 clips. I've got my t-shirt with the 4 clips. So I'm taking the seam of my neckline and lining it up with the clip over this neckline, and taking one of my clips away and combining them both under the same clip. Okay. So the key thing with this is that all of the raw edges of the t-shirt and of the neckline all need to be facing in the same direction, and all need to be running along the t-shirt. So then you come across to the next bit where you've put you've got 2 clips that are both in quarters, and again take them off so you can combine it into one clip. Now when you're a beginner, some people suggest dividing it into 8 and doing it that way, just again so that you get a really even finish. So that's my neckline in quarters and my t-shirt in quarters. And what you'll see from this view is that my neckline is much shorter than my t-shirt. So as I'm sewing, I'm going to want to be stretching my neckline, but not my t-shirt. And that's the really important thing about sewing these 2 things together. So I'm going to sew this on my overlocker, but you can very easily sew this on a sewing machine. On a sewing machine, you could use an overcasting foot with an overcasting stitch. You could use the triple stretch stitch, or you could use a zigzag. Whichever you choose to use, you need to practice on some scraps first. And it's really important that you put the neckline part that you want to stretch on the underneath, and the sewing foot on top of the t-shirt itself. So hopefully what you can see here is the raw edges all meeting with my 6mm seam allowance, and once the needle's down, pull on the ribbing, which is the bit that's allowed to stretch, and you know how far to pull by the amount that the ribbing needs to stretch between where you've started and the next clip. So you stretch the ribbing and then just rest the t-shirt onto the top, so all the raw edges are together, and put your finger so it holds the stretched ribbing and the unstretched t-shirt together. And as that guides in and the feed dogs bring the material forward, you're going to keep those 2 points together where the neckline is stretched but the t-shirt isn't. And as that goes under the foot, you're then going to do the next bit of fabric. With the overlocker, as with the sewing machine, you're again going to use your bottom hand, your right hand, to stretch the ribbing, while the left hand or the top hand stabilises the jersey and keeps the two in the right place. I would recommend starting where the two seams meet, because if you've lined them up correctly and start there, they'll stay lined up in the correct place. So as you can see, I'm now halfway round the neckline, and I am just going to bring that all the way round and then overlap my stitches exactly as you would with a sewing machine. So here's my neckline. I'm actually rather pleased with it. There's very little waviness, it's even, and there's no tucks in the fabric. Regardless of what it looks like at this point, always get a really hot steam iron and press your neckline. And what you'll find is if plenty of steam will flatten out any remote waviness that you've got, and it'll look perfect.